Stop scrolling. What is about to happen to Social Security payments in March is something that millions of recipients have not been told about clearly. Not by the SSA, not by the news, not by anyone. And the people who find out about it after it happens instead of before are going to spend days confused, frustrated, and in some cases genuinely worried that something has gone wrong with their payment, when the real answer is much simpler and much more important than that. March 2026 is not a normal month for Social Security. It never was going to be. Changes that were approved months ago are now landing in real accounts belonging to real people. Some of those changes adding money, some shifting payment dates, some adjusting net deposit amounts in ways that will catch recipients completely off guard if they are not prepared for them. And preparation in this case is the difference between confidence and panic. When you open your banking app and see a number you were not expecting, here is what is actually happening and why it matters more than the usual annual adjustment conversation. The biggest change hitting Social Security recipients in March involves something that has been decades in the making. For over 40 years, millions of Americans who worked in public sector jobs, school teachers, firefighters, police officers, government workers, nurses in public hospitals received Social Security benefits that were quietly, consistently, and significantly reduced by two provisions buried inside federal law: the windfall elimination provision, the government pension offset. Most people who were affected by these rules never fully understood them. They just knew their Social Security payment was lower than it should have been and accepted it as something they could not change. They can change it now because both provisions have been repealed. The legislation that ended these reductions passed at the end of 2024. The SSA has been processing recalculations ever since. And in March 2026, a significant wave of those recalculations is hitting accounts, meaning retirees who have been receiving reduced payments for years are suddenly seeing higher deposits. Some are seeing increases of $100 per month, some $200, some significantly more depending on how long they were affected and how large their pension was. And alongside those monthly increases, many recipients are receiving retroactive lump sum payments covering every month they were underpaid since the legislation took effect. Think about what that means for a retired teacher who spent 30 years in a classroom, paid into her state pension, and spent the last 6 years watching her Social Security payment come in $300 lower than her earnings record said it should be. 6 years, 72 months. A retroactive payment in that situation does not look like a routine deposit. It looks like something went wrong with her account until she understands what it actually is. If you worked in any public sector job at any point in your career, any job where your employer had its own pension system instead of contributing to Social Security, you need to find out right now whether your benefit was reduced under either of these provisions. Do not guess. Do not assume. Call the SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213 and ask them specifically, because if you are owed a recalculation and it has not been processed yet, following up is what makes it happen faster. Waiting is what makes it take longer. Now, the second shift hitting in March involves payment timing, and this one affects every recipient, regardless of work history or pension status. The SSA payment schedule is built around Wednesdays. Your payment date is determined by your birthday. Born between the 1st and 10th, you receive payment on the second Wednesday of the month, which in March falls on the 11th. Born between the 11th and 20th, third Wednesday, March 18th. Born between the 21st and 31st, fourth Wednesday, March 25th. SSI recipients already received their March payment on February 27th because March 1st fell on a weekend. Simple enough. But here is where people get confused every single year, and especially in a month like March when other changes are also happening simultaneously. If your payment date arrives and your deposit looks different from last month, higher, lower, or accompanied by an additional deposit you were not expecting, the instinct for most people is to call their bank and ask what happened. The bank cannot tell you. The bank received whatever the SSA sent. The answer lives at SSA.gov or at 1-800-772-1213, and knowing that in advance saves hours of frustration. The third shift involves net payment amounts, the actual number deposited into your account after Medicare Part B premiums are deducted. This is the number that matters for your budget, and it is the number that surprises the most people every year when it does not match their expectations. Here is the math that catches people off guard. The 2026 COLA added 2.5% to gross Social Security benefits. For someone receiving $2,000 per month, that is a $50 increase on paper. But Medicare Part B premiums also increased this year. If your premium went up by $10 per month, your net deposit increase is $40, not $50. If your premium increased more than your COLA gain, which happened to some higher income recipients, your net deposit in March may actually be lower than it was in December despite the COLA increase. This is not the SSA making a mistake. It is two separate systems, Social Security and Medicare, adjusting simultaneously in ways that interact with each other in your net deposit. Understanding that interaction is what keeps a confusing bank statement from becoming an unnecessary phone call or an unwarranted worry. Check your My Social Security account at SSA.gov this week. Look at your gross benefit amount and your net deposit amount separately. Understand what is being deducted and why. If the numbers do not match what you expected, you now have the context to understand why. And if something looks genuinely wrong rather than simply different, you have the information to ask the right questions when you call. One more thing about March that deserves attention. The SSA is sending out adjustment notices, recalculation letters, and in some cases, retroactive payment notifications by mail this month. These letters are going to the address on file for your account. If you have moved in the past year and have not updated your address with the SSA, not with the post office, specifically with the SSA, those letters may not reach you. A forwarding order does not redirect official SSA correspondence reliably. Log in to SSA.gov today and confirm your mailing. Address, your banking information, and your contact details are all current. March is bringing real money to people who have been waiting for it for a long time. It is also bringing confusion to people who were not prepared for what a change deposit amount means. The difference between those two experiences is simply knowing what to look for.